Welcome to the brand new Morgan Plus 6, and let's deal with it first. I know what you're thinking. New, but it looks exactly the same. Well, no, because of the 4,000 parts, only 1% have been carried over. And let's deal with the looks first. Why haven't they changed it? Why haven't they done anything revolutionary? And I was thinking about this, and if you grow up wanting a Morgan, this is what you want. What's more, look at all the resto mod cars, the craze that there is for that now. And this is effectively that, I suppose. This is on the same footprint as before. Under the bonnet now, we've got a Bmw B-58 engine, which we'll get to in a minute, and, well, a whole new chassis. Everything's new. So let's have a look. Let's start with the engine, which is a Bmw B-58 engine. So 3 litre straight six turbocharged engine, putting out 335 brake horsepower, 369 pounds-foot of torque, which, if you compare it to the old V8, is about 30 brake horsepower down, but only a 1 pound-foot torque down. And the important thing about this engine is it puts out just 170 grams per kilometre of CO2 and will do over 38 mpg. Which, fine, perhaps not exciting numbers, but important for Morgan because it allows them to then sell this car in markets that previously have become out of reach in recent years in their high-performance models. It's attached to a ZF 8-speed gearbox, which we'll come back to in a minute, and a mechanical limited slip diff at the back. But the chassis, a beautiful bonded aluminium chassis. It weighs 98 kilos, it's got twice the stiffness of before, and if you see it next to one of the old chassis, then it's extraordinary just how far this has come, how much more sophisticated it is, and how much more it's clearly been designed with all the sort of the pickup points and stuff in mind. Whilst we're down here, let's just talk about the front suspension, which it's double wishbones all round, and talking to John Beach, who's the lead engineer previously of Lotus, who also have bonded aluminium chassis. He said that this is one of the things they really worked very hard on with the packaging, because they obviously started with the whole body and they knew they had to fit the car underneath that body. So it was not without its problems, but you've got the sway bar down here, and they're saying that despite the performance perhaps being very slightly down in terms of what you're getting from the engine compared to the old V8, this is definitely going to be the best performing Morgan ever. While they've only added 20 millimeters to the wheelbase of the chassis, they have managed to add, more importantly, an extra 200 millimeters of space inside the cabin. They've also had an extra 31% luggage space, so just behind the seats here. Added to the fact that you can now adjust this for both reach and rake, it's just much more habitable for tall people like me. Elsewhere in here, obviously rather nice new dials, a little digital screen in there, which is pretty revolutionary stuff for a Morgan, I can tell you. The other thing we have to mention in here is the fact that it's got, well, obviously the Bmw Gear Selector here, which there's no getting around it, they know it. It does jar a little bit, but I think they've done a pretty good job of actually integrating it, particularly in this sort of piano black finish here with the silver. It works. Sitting here, looking out over the bonnet, one of the things I'd notice would be the two nostrils there. There's also a couple of vents down here, because one of the things they had with the packaging of this was getting enough cooling into the engine, and something they're particularly proud of, the fact they've managed to do that, because it's an engine that runs hotter than they were used to in the past. Pretend I'm opening the doors here, which you can see on the green car over there. You'll see they're much thicker because they've managed to pack an awful lot more in, and it feels a bit more premium. And of course, I have to mention the wonderful ash frame, because it's a Morgan, and rather like the looks, you'd feel a bit shortchanged if you bought a Morgan and you didn't have this beautiful piece of craftsmanship here. 19-inch wheels, get ABS, don't get any traction control, so you better know what you're doing. 46 litre fuel tank. Also down here, pickup points for the integrated luggage rack, which is an example of one of those things that Morgan, where previously that would have been bolted onto the chassis, now it's been integrated. And all over the car, almost hiding in plain sight, there are a host of details that just bring it more up to date. LED lights all around, the high level brake light up there, central locking puddle lighting. This is known internally as the metric Morgan for fairly obvious reasons. And because this has been designed with the future in mind, They've of course taken into account the fact that this may well not always have an internal combustion engine. It might be a EV Morgan in the future. The new Plus 6 will cost from a whisker under £78,000, and two well-spec'd first edition models available either in this green or an ice blue will retail at £89,995. While that's not cheap, it's worth bearing in mind that the final variants, the Plus 8 and Aero 8, using the old chassis, were priced at £129,000 and £144,000 respectively. So there we are, you see. It really is all new. And here's one other snippet of information which might just pique your interest a little bit more. This motor and engine, 335 brake horsepower, we'll see it in some other cars as well. The Z4, M40i and the new Toyota Supra. Except this has a dry weight of just 1,075 kilos. So it should be pretty exciting to drive.